Good evening, everybody. It's Thursday night at 7 o'clock here in West Palm Beach. And I really want to talk to you this evening about what I recapped with Unity on the Bay in Miami last Sunday, called the Nothingness of Something, okay? And so I really want to go through this with you, and I have Aaron with me here. Thank you so much for this. And this is going to be very kind of weird for you, and I don't really care, okay? Because this is really what I try to communicate each and every week, communicating the good, the holy, and the beautiful, okay? It is not our intention ever to be in suffering or sadness or depression or anything else. And there is a better way. There is a better way, and I hope that you and I can really be on the same page here on this point. The nothingness of something. In other words, when a phenomenon arises in our field of awareness, we have to know what it really is, what we are interacting with in that moment. And what we are interacting with is an hallucination. Now, there is reality within this dimension, this field of awareness that we are dealing with this evening. But most often, what we are experiencing instead is a dreamlike experience. Okay? And there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. I want you and I to have a happy dream. Okay? And the purpose of A Course in Miracles is not to bring us an experience of suffering. It does not want us to experience a dream of suffering, but rather to really translate that experience into a dream of love, a dream of happiness, a dream of bliss, if you will. And we can experience that together. Okay, we can have that right now. We can have that experience, you and I together in this moment. First of all, by being here now. Being here now. In other words, letting the past go, letting the future released as well, and allow ourselves to an experience of love. That's it. We cannot really experience the love of God unless you and I are here and now, okay? Because even a moment, I know there's a light behind me, but it's going to be covered by my big old head here, and that's okay. I need some light here, and I moved my my seat here instead, and that's okay. So, we want to be here now, and we want to open the window and the portal of the eternal timeless now so that we can experience the love of God in this moment. Okay? So we cannot experience the love of God if we are moving our mind into the past and the future. Period. We are asleep in that moment. And we are here to be awakened from the dream, from the sleep. Okay? Keep in mind, this is what Adam experienced in the Old Testament, right? The Old Testament says that Adam fell into a deep sleep, and in nowhere in the Bible did he ever wake up from it. The moment that he picked that fruit of the knowledge of good and evil, he went immediately into a dream state. And the only venue in which an illusion can be afforded reality is within a dream state. Okay? So I'm here to answer any questions that you have about this. I'm here. I've got the iPad here ready to answer any questions that you have. And boy, I keep... hold on just a minute here. I think that I just accidentally made Aaron saying it's a bad experience that we're having. We're not. Okay. I hope I corrected that. I can always fix it later. So what I do is, before I go into the before I go into the instruction from A Course in Miracles and the Way of Mastery as well, is to really understand the nothingness that A Course in Miracles refers to repeatedly. Okay, so I'm going to share this with you here, and so we can really have a good experience together about this. Okay, so you understand, I hope, that there's nothing to fear. Okay, and what I'm offering to you is going to be different than what other people are offering, using sometimes the premise and the posture of the voice of fear, what we call the ego. Okay. So this is from A Course in Miracles. And before I do this, I need to remind you that I will be here, I guess this is Thursday, Saturday at 1 o'clock here at my home in West Palm Beach to go through the first 2 lessons of the Way of Mastery. If you want a detailed explanation about this, just go to my post here. You'll see I have a 1-minute video about this. And I hope that you can join us here Saturday at 1 o'clock. The spaces here, I only want 10 to 12 people here, and that's filling up quickly. So if you want to be part of this, email me, and I'll send you an email about the details and so forth. Hey, Yule, it's good to see you. Yule is on our board of directors at the Academy of Spiritual Awakening. He'll be here Saturday as well. What I am referring to this evening is a recap of what I did last Sunday in Miami at Unity on the Bay. And I think that I hope that you enjoy it, and they did last Sunday, and I hope you enjoy it as well. Okay. A Course in Miracles says this: where destruction was perceived, the face of Christ appears. And in that instant is the world forgot, with time forever ended, as the world spins into nothingness from where it came. A world forgiven cannot last. It was the home of bodies, but forgiveness looks past bodies. This is its holiness. This is how it heals. So let me take this here, about 4 or 5 items about this, so you can understand what A Course in Miracles really is trying to convey to you and me this evening. So before we do this, let's take a deep breath here together. And remember with me, this is not you breathing here. This is the universe breathing through you and through me as well. Let's take another deep breath. And we release it. And as we do, we let the past go, and we let the future into the future where it is nowhere. It's nowhere. Okay? We are dealing with the reality of what we are dealing with right now. Hi, Nancy. Good to see you. It starts with where destruction was perceived. What does he mean by this? What did Jesus mean about this? Where destruction was perceived. This is what A Course in Miracles and the cameos and the original version of A Course in Miracles really means, okay? The defilement of the altar. Where is the defilement of the altar? The defilement of the altar is when you and I together, collectively, decided to place our interest and our attention and our power in an hallucination. What is the hallucination? The hallucination is the separation. That you and I are separate from each other, and that you and I are separate from our source, God, whatever you want to call it, I don't care. That separation is a fallacy. You and I are exchanging molecules between each other, and the only thing that is bringing us a notion of separation is the separation, the illusion of the separation, that there's a subject here and that there's an object there, and that is a phenomenon, and that is what we are referred to over and over this evening, a phenomenon. It's when you think that you're a subject and that the world is an object. okay? That there's a gap between me and you. And there is no gap whatsoever. A Course in Miracles tells us, as well as the Way of Mastery, that perfect vision, the vision of the Christ, can only be experienced between you and me is when I myself remove the gap that I myself place between me and you. That's it. When that gap is removed, when it is removed and I dislodge myself from it, then I have an experience of oneness. I can see you and say, oh, I am that. I am. And regardless of the phenomenon that we are experiencing in this dimension is immaterial, because it is still the substance of dreams. And that is what we're talking about tonight. The substance of the nothingness of your dreams. That's it. What we are referring to this evening, a dream of death, a dream of fear, a dream of suffering. Okay, that is what we are referring to. So we want to move from ourselves, off of the matrix, if you will, and back into an awareness of what Jesus refers to as the kingdom of heaven. Okay? And we are experiencing, hello, Esteban, another board director, listening here on this evening in West Palm Beach. I love you, Esteban, and Yule too. Love you both. And Aaron here is here too, as well, a board director of the Academy of Spiritual Awakening as well. So let's talk about Jesus and Buddha here as we move forward together here. Buddha and Jesus together experienced the temptations given to them, the phenomenon arising in their field of awareness, and they looked at it, and they recognized the illusion of it. And when illusion is recognized, it must disappear. This is how the laws in the dream world operates. I just have to recognize that I'm looking here, not reality, but rather a phenomenon, an illusion, an hallucination, if you will. That's it. Okay? So, I mentioned last Sunday at Unity on the Bay as well, the difference between forgiveness, for instance, and extreme forgiveness. What is forgiveness? Forgiveness is, and of course in Miracles, I just read it this morning as well, forgiveness means to overlook. That's it. You are overlooking the illusion that you are looking at from your physical eyes right now. That is forgiveness. In that moment, you begin to have an understanding that you're not just a participant within the dream, but that you are the dreamer of the entire dream. That's it. That's forgiveness. What is extreme forgiveness? Extreme forgiveness is when you understand that the dream that you are producing in this field of awareness never really occurred in reality. This is why A Course in Miracles says, do not forgive your brother for what he did. Rather, forgive your brother and your sister for what they did not do. And there is the rub, okay? There is the rub. So let's take another deep breath here, okay? Let's take another deep breath here. Look, folks, this is what Jesus and Buddha experienced in order to operate themselves in a way that they understand themselves as a Christed individual, an enlightened individual. That is it. That is what you want to experience, and that is what I want to experience as well. Okay, now from time to time, we're going to have experiences of fear that arise in the field of awareness, and that's okay. Enlightenment does not ask that we never have moments of fear. It does, however, ask us to remember that it is our responsibility not to keep it, not to hold on to it, not to side with it or identify it with it at all. That's all. That's all. Again, forgiveness, you dislodge yourself from the matrix by understanding that you produced it in the first place. And extreme forgiveness is when you understand that the dream of death, that the dream of suffering, the dream of tears never really occurred at all. And this is what we are calling the nothingness of something. What mystics call the 0 point. What quantum physicists call the quantum force of nothing. What Buddha referred to as the void, or as Shakespeare referred to as the blank, as Jesus referred to as the rock or the stone. Okay? Upon this rock I will build my kingdom. So in other words, it is a responsibility for you and I then to bring our angst, our anxiety, our depression, our sadness, our suffering from something that is serious in our mind to nothing, to 0 point. Okay? Osho, I'm sorry, not Osho, but movie, I'm saying movie, it's Muji, refers to it as nothing, 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 over and over again. Okay. So, again, I'm going to read this again to you so you understand this. Where destruction was perceived, the separation, the face of Christ begins to appear. And in that instant is the world that you and I, through our perceptions, our interpretations, our evaluations, begin to disappear. And then you enter into the eternal timeless now. You begin to experience the heaven that you and I abide in each and every moment of every minute of every hour of every day. Okay? You know, I use this phrase all the time in my interactions with this world, right? When I went through 2 brain surgeries myself a year and a half ago, all I said to myself in that process is, forgive, and this will disappear. Forgive, and this will disappear. In other words, I'm not part of the matrix in that moment, because through forgiveness, I see myself as the dreamer of what I'm experiencing right now, that I am producing these phenomenon in my world. You say, Kevin, I don't experience the phenomenon of war and conflict and suffering and depression and poverty. Baloney. That is baloney. You yourself, in your thoughts, which are powerful and potent, are producing the phenomenon by giving your attention, your value, your meaning to misperceptions that you play with and dance with in your mind. You're going to see it in 3D Technicolor over and over again. Okay? I don't want to be too intense here, okay? And to whatever extent that I am trying to, shake your head here and trying to convey a sense of reality to you, I have to know that I'm also interacting with a representation of what is happening in my own mind. Okay? This is how a sojourn of enlightenment begins. You have to take 100% responsibility for what is happening in your world right now. You don't like a man who is a jerk in your experience right now, a president or a senator or whatever. My friends, it is because my own mind produced that phenomenon in my field of awareness. But I can choose again. I can't instead have only loving thoughts in my domain, and then my only loving thoughts will be represented in time and space because of it. Okay? I hope that you all understand this here. as the world spins into nothingness from where it came. That's it. An hallucination, an illusion. A world forgiven cannot last. A world based on, founded in, fear and the separation, which both is completely unreal, cannot last anymore. You know, I wrote a book about 25 years ago when I started A Course in Miracles. And it was titled, We Are in God, Dreaming of Exile. So in reality, you and I are in God right now. Okay, so right now, everything that I'm experiencing in this field is God. Okay, I'm in the home of God. And I said something to someone earlier today when they said that we are all gods. Okay, and Jesus said this, by the way, in the New Testament as well. We are all gods. But the difference between God, our source, and us is that we did not create God. God created us. So there's a cause and effect relationship that is occurring in that moment. Okay. It was the home of bodies. But forgiveness looks past bodies. And this is what I was referring to earlier. That forgiveness means that you overlook the hallucinations, the illusions that we are experiencing in this moment. Okay? The second excerpt from this is this, from A Course in Miracles. Oh, before I do this, I really want to, I don't want to get ahead of myself here, so let me just stop here and read this to you, okay? Today we are considering the will you share with God. This is not the same as the ego's idle wishes, out of which darkness and nothingness arise. The will you share with God has all the power of creation in it. Okay. Now I say this to myself all the time. I will to will thy will. I will to will thy will. In other words, in this moment, I will to will God's will, not my own will. Because it is a question of authorship. It is a question of authority. So in other words, I have substituted God's will for my own. I created my own identity, my own psyche, my own ego, my own body, okay? And now I am in competition with God for it. That's it. This is what the prodigal son did. This is what Adam and Eve did as well. They tried to create their own reality, their own authorship, their own authority in this world. That's it. When I can then dislodge my attention and stop siding with the voice of fear and began instead a process of aligning myself with the will of God, the voice of love, then my world begins to change accordingly. This is how your sleeping dreams occur, right? Look, I had a dream in which, I'll give you an example here. I always, my hair, thankfully, really goes long quickly, okay? It grows very long. My eyebrows, my hair, everything. So I have to look at my eyebrows all the time, go, am I okay right now? And in that moment, I know this is egoic. I know this, and I acknowledge it. But yesterday I was thinking about this mentally, and then I had a dream that my eyebrows became so long, very long, in the dream state. There it is. There I was thinking it in my mind, mentally, with my attention, my value, my meaning, and then boom, I'm going to experience in a dream state, a sleeping dream state, those long eyebrows. That's it. That's it. That's what we experience. everything that we experience in our mind that we value and desire, then we're going to experience it in the dream state as well. The same is true about your waking dream as well. Every thought that you think right now manifests itself in time and space. And you're going to see the evidence of it over and over again. This cannot stop until we stop what we call the dirge, the song of death that we keep telling ourselves over and over again. Okay? I reminded myself this morning in Genesis 1, where God said that He created this world and that it was good. It was good. What happened? Where was the error? The error was myself when I played with and danced with a notion of the separation, that I'm separate from my source, my Father, and I'm not. That can never occur in reality. Okay? It's my responsibility to take charge of every thought that I allow to harbor my mind right now. That's it. I've used this example several times personally and to the students in West Palm Beach as well as Miami. Right now we're dealing with a field of awareness, and today I can drop a pebble into this pool of awareness of love, and I'm going to experience the ripples of it because of it. I can instead drop a pebble of fear and death and destruction and gloom and doom, and then boom, I'm going to experience the ripples of it. You can blame and shame the world for your experience right now, but that is going to perpetuate over and over again in the dream state. But you can stop that right now by retrieving the blame and the victimhood from other people back to where it originated. That is in your mind. That's it. Hey, Susan. Good to see you, my holy sister. Today we are considering the will you share with God. This is not the same as the ego's idle wishes, out of which darkness and nothingness arise. The will you share with God has all the power of creation in it. Okay? So you are either listening to the voice of God through the portal and the window of the now moment, or you and I are listening to a gnat shouting in empty space. You're listening to a shadow cast upon the wall instead, a voice of fear which itself is nothing, nothing, nothing. To whatever extent that you give it value, then it becomes valuable to you. When you remove your level of value to it, then you can have an experience instead of what is occurring in reality now, here and now. The kingdom, the kingdom, the kingdom. Now, look, I'm talking about the Way of Mastery Saturday here in West Palm Beach at 1 o'clock. All of the details about this class is on my post. You just go to it, okay? But the Way of Mastery gives a wonderful explanation of the difference between creation that we're talking about right now and making. The ego makes. Our true identity creates. And there's a huge difference between those two things. So this is from lesson 30, page 341 of the Way of Mastery here. For you were born and created to create, not to make. What is the difference between making and creating? Making requires the special efforts of the egoic mind. Making involves planning what one wants based on what one already knows, and then setting about to find the way to bring it into being according to one's own ideas. Making always has an element of fear, since the ego itself is the fundamental contraction of fear. You are in the act of extending creation whenever you surrender your own ideas of what a thing is for and choose only to do what you do in order to enjoy the presence of love and the offering of that love to whomever and whatever will receive it. The egoic mind is interested in making love, for instance. It has a very set ideas of what love should look like, what form it should take, how other beings ought to respond, what actions are all right and what are not all right. Let me then ask you this question. In your own life, do you exert energy in trying to make love happen? Or do you celebrate that you are already in the presence of love? Making love requires others. Creating love, that is, extending love requires nothing but your will, your willingness. Okay? The past has passed away. The future is, at best, a fantasy in the mind. The present is where God abides, and therefore all creation has to occur in the eternal timeless now, not in the past and the future. So simply, if you are making love, if you are making success in your life, if you are making joy, then you are using the tools of the separation, the past and the future, to do it. And therefore, you are asleep and in the matrix. When instead you let go of the past and the future and live and move and abide in the eternal timeless now, you are extending the love, you are extending and expressing the love of God in this moment to you. That's it. And there's a huge difference. If you are using the past and the future, you are stressed, you are striving, and you are struggling. All right? You're trying to affirm to yourself that you're something beyond what God has created already in you as a beautiful, loving, and a kind being. That there's the difference. Okay? Hey, Madeline. Good to see you, my friend. As well, I'm just seeing here if we got any questions so far. I think that people are just kind of overwhelmed with the information that we are sharing together. I hope it doesn't bring you a sense of fear or alarm. It shouldn't be. And instead, it should bring you an experience of release and freedom. Okay? Oh, boy. You know, many of you probably watched The Secret, the movie, right? Because you understand finally that your thoughts make things. Okay? But there is the secret behind the secret. What is the secret behind the secret? That you and I do not know what is in our own best interest. Yes, you can you can play and dance with time and space, the past and the future, as much as you want to. You're free to do that, okay? But your experience is going to be wanting over and over again. The secret behind the secret is to know and acknowledge in that moment that I don't know what this world is for. Now, every day when I get up, I make an attempt to say, oh, this is what the day is for. And then you meet the day and you understand, oh my God, I was wrong. I'm trying to remind you and myself every day that you were wrong. And I was wrong too. That I don't know what is in my own best interest, right? Because in that moment, I am informed by the past, which is over, and the future, which is not here. And therefore, I'm informed by the voice of fear, that vacuum that arises because of it. Instead, I can choose again and be informed by what is happening in the eternal timeless now, in the kingdom, over and over again, by releasing. I loose the world from all I thought it was, right? I think that I don't know is the most freeing concept that we can really acknowledge for ourselves in this moment. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what this means. Tell me what this means. And in that moment, I am in a more receptive modality. I am asking my source, what does this mean? Show me. Every time I do a counseling, and I do a lot of counselings in Miami as well, and here in West Palm Beach, every time I do this, I ask, what would you have me do? What would you have me say? Where would you have me go? And then I listen for that still small voice of love. You want to hear the voice of love? You have to go to where the speaker is speaking. Where is the speaker speaking? The speaker is speaking right now, in this present moment, as we let go of the past and let go of the future. You're safe now, okay? You're not going to be uprooted. You cannot be extinguished from this dimension, okay? You are as God created you, and not what you made of yourself. So it's a process of enlightenment to let go of what you made of yourself, the images, the stigmas that you over and over try to measure yourself against. Over and over again, you let that image go and accept your own reality instead. It is a difference between what we call content or essence, which is your being right now, or the image or the form of that you produce in this dimension. Okay, so you let go of the image, you let go of form, and you re-identify yourself with the essence of love that is flowing through you right now in this moment. That's it. It's that easy. Here's the answer to every problem that will confront you today and tomorrow and throughout time. In this world, you believe you are sustained by everything but God. Your faith is placed in the most trivial and insane symbols: pills, money, protective clothing, influence, prestige, being liked, knowing the right people, and an endless list of forms of nothingness that you endow with magical powers. All these things are your replacements for the love of God. All these things are cherished to ensure a body identification. They are songs of praise to the ego, to the voice of fear. Do not put your faith in the worthless. It will not sustain you. My friends, you know this. Hey, Terry, good to see you, my friend. Let me see if we have any questions here. Okay, Susanna, good to see you. Madeline, Susan, Esteban, Yule. If you have any questions, folks, I'm here for you. Hey, Yule. All right, let's continue here. We're talking about problems there, right? One of the lessons from A Course in Miracles is this: help me to recognize that my problems has already been solved. You think that you have problems of money, sickness, health, love, relationships, and so forth. Your only problem is the notion that you keep repeating over yourself in this dimension, is that you're separate from what you are experiencing in this world. And you're not separate from it. You are at one with it. You're at one with it. There is no separation. The separation itself, its modality, its dynamic, is itself what fundamentalist Christians call the devil. That is the devil. And that devil is not even true at all. You recognize the illusory nature of it. And when you do, it then begins to disappear over and over again. When you bring it a level of conviction, confidence, faith in the event that is arising in your field of awareness. Okay? I mentioned earlier, and I mentioned this as well last week, and that's on my Facebook page as well. The dirge, right? What is the dirge? Is the song of death that we keep telling ourselves over and over and over again. God may not enter here. God may not enter here, the sick repeat over and over while they mourn their loss and yet rejoice in it. Healing occurs from A Course in Miracles as a patient begins to hear the dirge he sings and questions its validity. Until he hears it, he cannot understand that it is he who sings it to himself. Okay, I know people have a problem with really taking responsibility for what is happening in this field of awareness. And I am here to tell you that 100% responsibility is your key to freedom. That's it. I have done this thing, and it is this that I will undo. It's that easy. I have done this thing. I have produced an event of suffering, conflict, murder, and so forth. I acknowledge it because in my own mind, I produced that with my thoughts itself. And this is why my thoughts are so powerful and potent. A Course in Miracles goes further about the word nothingness that you and I are referring to right now. The title of my lesson this evening, The Nothingness of Something. The picture of your brother that you see means nothing. In other words, the image of your brother that you see means nothing. There is nothing to attack or to deny, to love or hate, or to endow with power or to see as weak. The picture has been wholly canceled out because it symbolized a contradiction that canceled out the thought it represents. And thus the picture has no cause at all. Who can perceive effect without a cause? So, in this dreamlike experience that you are having with me right now, you think that you see the effects in the dream state. In a dream state, sure, you're going to see the effect of what is happening as a cause in your mind. This is how dreams occur. This is how dreams operate. You think about it, and you're going to see it in 3D Technicolor, a dream state, if you will. But it is causeless, because it's happening within a dream state. And so, therefore, the effects is causeless as well. And so is the cause. Okay? What can the causeless be but nothingness? The picture of your brother that you see is wholly absent and has never been. Let then the empty space it occupies be recognized as vacant, and that the time devoted to its seeing be perceived as idly spent, a time I can't say that word. I'm going to say that word. Unoccupied. There we go. Unoccupied. Okay, in other words, you're not giving that picture, that image that your mind produced in the first place any value or meaning. It has no meaning. It's a phenomenon. It's something that you are producing yourself as a testament that God is not here and that you are creating your own authority and your own authorship. Okay? And you're not. Okay? Let go of the effects, because you are releasing as well the causeless cause that is producing it in the dream state. That's it. That's it. It's an image, a form, an effect. Okay? And this is why I tell people all the time, when they ask, I don't push it on them. That's not my responsibility. But it is useless trying to change or correct or improve a brother or a sister. Because what you are experiencing in the phenomenon is an effect of what's happening mentally. It's already over and done with. It's in the past. You cannot correct the past. Okay? You can release it though. And your tomorrows can be better when you understand, when you change your mind today, in this moment, in the now moment. Be here now. That is why the conflict cannot ultimately be resolved until all the parts of the sonship, that's you and me, have returned. Only then can the meaning of wholeness, in the true sense, be understood. Any part of the sonship can believe in error or in incompleteness if he so chooses. However, if he does so, he is believing in the existence of nothingness. The correction of this error is the atonement. And this is why, by the way, this is from the Circle of Atonement, by the way, is published by the Circle of Atonement. And when I say the word atonement, what I really mean is the correction. The correction occurs when we let go of the misperceptions that we are entertaining in our mind, and instead begin to delve into and immerse ourselves into the kingdom of heaven. That's simple. That's it. That's it. We can choose again. We don't like an experience of loss and limitation and suffering and death and despair and so forth, the doom and the gloom. We can choose again in this moment by seeing through our perceptions a thought that is pointing toward heaven and wholeness and completion. That's it. So we don't have to evaluate the dream anymore. We don't have to improve it. We don't have to correct it. We do have to allow it. We have to embrace it and acknowledge 100% responsibility for producing it in the first place. When we know this, then we can experience ourselves as a Christed individual. The love of God incarnate in this moment. We go to heaven together or not at all. The moment that I reject any aspect of the dream state, I am rejecting myself in this moment. The totality of the dream, the sonship. When we recognize that we are the dreamer and not the dream itself. And because of the dream, nothing within this dream is special. Okay? The specialness that we ascribe to other people or organizations or governments is itself a testament of the voice of fear. Trying to create your own reality in this sphere. Your brother is not special. I am not special. The specialness of the ego is through exclusion and division and conflict. The specialness of the Holy Spirit, or the love of God, rather, is inclusion. That no one is special because everybody is special. No one is holy because everything within this sphere itself is holy. Inclusion, not exclusion. Okay, and then I'm going to find here, I'm going to end this experience I'm having with you by reading a last excerpt from A Course in Miracles. It's in text, chapter 29, section 2, 9. If you're reading this, by the way. And then, because my understanding of time and space is not really my problem at all, because I'm really moving in time and space. I am moving and abiding in the eternal timeless now and not in time and space. And therefore, my notion of what time it is right now is kind of useless to me. I don't even know what time it is. But I think I've I've gone a long time with you already, so I'm going to suspend it right now after this paragraph. I'm reading an excerpt from A Course in Miracles. The body that is asked to be a god will be attacked because its nothingness has not been recognized. And so it seems to be a thing with power in itself, as something it can be perceived and thought to feel and act, and hold you in its grasp as prisoner to itself. And it can fail to be what you demanded that it be. It's talking about your body here. And you will hate it for its littleness, unmindful that the failure does not lie in that it is not more than it should be, but only in your failure to perceive it that it is nothing. Yet its nothingness is your salvation from which you would flee. As quote-unquote something is the body asked to be God's enemy, replacing what he is with littleness and limit and despair. It is his loss you celebrate when you behold the body as a thing you love, or look upon it as a thing you hate. For if he be the sum of everything, then what is not in him does not exist, and his completion is its nothingness. Okay, I love this. We're talking about the body here. We are approaching the body then lovelessly when we see it as a thing to love, as a special thing, or a thing to hate it, a special hate. Okay, we will attack the body as quote-unquote something that is now dense, powerful, and with authority. And the key to salvation is to understand the nothingness of the phenomenon that is arising in our field of awareness over and over again. To see it as nothing, nothing, nothing. And then it will disappear in the dream state. That's it. And we can replace it gingerly and gently with thoughts of love, seeing you and me as one, not separate from each other. And because of that, I cannot attack you, I cannot blame you, I cannot see myself as a victim, or a victim of the world that I see. I am the producer of everything that is occurring in the field of awareness that I'm seeing right now. Take 100% responsibility for that, then you are free. Because you recognize in that moment that what you are interacting with is not reality, but your interpretation of reality. Let go of that interpretation, that evaluation, that judgment, that definition, that comparison, comparison to another person. Then you can be free in that moment. Okay? So 2 things here. I'm going to end here. And I mentioned it to the students at Unity on the Bay as well. And by the way, this is the principles of Unity too. If you read Charles and Merle Fillmore, or Emily Cady, or Imelda Shanklin as well, you're going to see the same phenomenon arising in the field of awareness in their principles as well in Unity. So, how do we navigate ourselves through this dream state easily? So 2 things here. I'm going to write this down so I don't forget about it. Okay, and the second one here is, here it is. Okay, here it is. Okay? Now, ask yourself this question. Look at all of the things that you are experiencing today. The people that you met with, the events that you see, the circumstances, all of it. Okay? Look at it squarely today with me. Ask yourself this question. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being 0, 10 being extreme, okay? On a scale of 1 to 10, what level of resistance are you experiencing when you meet that person or girl or that event or that circumstance or your president or your senators or whatever? What level of resistance are you bringing to that experience? That's it. If the level of resistance is anything above 0, you in that moment are at war. In that moment, you are in a battlefield. You, in that moment, are in the matrix. Okay? Because you are at war with yourself. Okay? You don't like that guy at 7-Eleven? You're the problem. You don't like your work? That's your problem. You don't like your president? That's your problem. Because you have produced this in the dream state. And so you are on a war path with everything and the world. And therefore, your level of resistance comes from 0 point to 10. And therefore, you pick up your swords, okay, and you began to battle with the world that you are experiencing right now. So the first thing is to reduce the level of severity, the level of resistance to nothing. Nothing. Now, Ho'oponopono mentions this as well, to reduce the level of resistance that you're bringing to the dimension, the dream world, to 0 by saying, I am sorry, please forgive me, I love you, and thank you. Now, I'm not asking you to forgive yourself or to the world. I'm saying that those words itself, those statements, really raises the vibration of your being. And it begins to dissolve the level of resistance that you are bringing to any event in this dimension. That's it. You bring it down to 0 point by enfolding that event with love, with forgiveness, with compassion, and innocence. That's it. In other words, the event is harmless now. It has no charge, no meaning, no value whatsoever. Okay? Again, you're not being removed here. Your reality is not going to be removed. But instead, you're going to have an experience instead of your own reality. The awesome and potent mind that you possess right now. Okay? And you can have an experience of love instead. The second thing I want to talk about is the seriousness of what you think the event provides to you in this dimension. Okay. Last Sunday at Unity on the Bay, when I was speaking there, one fellow was mentioning an occurrence with a sibling, that he was having an interaction with this person that in that moment he felt was so serious and so stark, and he did not know how to navigate himself through it. Hey Mary, good to see you, my holy sister. And so I said to my fellow friend there, I said, okay, you think that what is arising in your field of awareness, this circumstance with your sibling, is serious. Okay? In other words, I can say it with the equivalent of you are at war with this situation, this circumstance, this woman. And so therefore, you're going to see it as a serious thing that you have to correct or fix or something, because you see it as broken and therefore it needs to be fixed. Again, we are in a dream state. So if we think that the world needs to be that the world is broken now and needs to be fixed, that your boyfriend or your girlfriend or your husband or your wife or your boss is broken and needs to be fixed, my friends, that is nothing more than myself projecting my own brokenness, my own notions of lack and limitation, and a damaged brain and broken bodies and a weakened ego in my own mind. And I project it upon other people and then blame them for it. It's my responsibility to know this. This is what projection is all about. I look at myself in my own mind and I don't like what I am harboring in that moment, so I repress it in my subconscious, and then I project it upon another person. They're the problem, not me. And therefore, immediately, I'm in a war state, a battlefield with that person. A Course in Miracles at the beginning, and I love this so much, and I have to remind myself over and over and over again. Into eternity, where all is one, there crept a tiny, mad idea in which the Son of God, you and me, forgot to laugh. In other words, collectively, we forgot to laugh at the notion of the separation. That I'm separate from you, you're separate from me, there's a gap between us, and there's a gap between us and our source. That is a hallucination, a fallacy. I should have laughed about it. Okay? Heartily. But I didn't. I made it serious instead. And the seriousness of it, the resistance to it, brought me into an experience of a dense dream of separation, a dream of death, a dream of suffering. But I can laugh about it instead and remove the level of resistance, the level of seriousness that I brought to that experience. Whew, what a time together, right? Look, man, I know that I've given you stuff that is outside of the box that you yourself have placed yourself within. You can begin to look at your world outside of the box and using instead the device given to you and me to awaken to the awareness of who we are, the love of God incarnate right now. Okay? You are the Christ, the Son of the living God. You are the Christ, the daughter of the living God. And so am I, and so is everyone else. You say, Kevin, this is really egotistical. No, it isn't. It is egotistical to try to create your own authorship by playing and dancing with the tools of the separation, the past and the future, trying to create an experience of love and completion which you, in this moment, do not experience individually within your own psyche. In your reality, you are at one with God. In reality, you are one with everything that you experience in time and space. You can choose again. You can play and dance with the things of the separation as much as you want to. And you can be in the matrix as long as you want to, because this is you have the free choice to do that, the free will to do that. But you can choose again, okay? You can see every event, every person, every body, every governmental entity or hierarchies that you are interacting with each and every day, enfolding it in compassion and love and innocence. And you can see it instead as sacred. It's sacred because it's happening within the mind of God, the mind of the Son of God, you and me. And therefore, it is holy. It is sacred. And when you approach that moment with holiness and sacredness, boy, you can have an experience of joy and peace and love and so forth. Okay? Boy, I don't think I have any questions from people, and that's fine. I get a lot of questions anyway in the classes. in Miami and West Palm Beach. I want to remind you, I'm going to be here in West Palm Beach, my home, allowing only 10 to 12 people here with me. Go to my page, go to our website, the Academy of Spiritual Awakening.org. The invitation is there for you to join us and to awaken to the reality of who you are. To awaken from the illusion of separateness that you and I ourselves created in this world. And if no one has told you today that they love you, allow me to be the first. I love you so much. And remember with me every day, only loving thoughts. Only loving thoughts, experiences, only loving experiences in time and space. And then we can awaken to the reality of who we are.